यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. It looks like some questions got mixed up from yesterday. This looks like yesterday's question. This is yesterday's. Maya Mithya. Yeah, this is also yesterday's. Children to be introduced to Gita, that is also yesterday's. Divine grace and intervention, that's all yesterday's. Ahimsa, yesterday's. How can peace of mind be attained in the midst of household duties, yesterday. Maybe these are from today. Yeah. Please dispose of these immediately so that they don't get carried over for tomorrow. So, I think these are from today. This question is an age-old question, but it is ever new because in every satsang it will come. Is there a free will? Is there a free will? If so, where is it? Or is everything predetermined? What is the story of the free will? Something like that. Let me read the question. Yeah, is there a free will or is everything pre-decided by karma phala? This is an interesting question. First we have to understand what is karma phala. What is karma phala? Result of action. And that action done by who? Your neighbor, correct? No. You. And that action, when you did that action, that was what? That was because you wanted to pursue something, correct? You wanted to pursue some goal, some ambition, some desire, right? So when you did that action, that was freely done, correct? So what you are calling karma phala is your own free will in the past. It's like having leftovers from the fridge. Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. Peas pudding hot, peas pudding cold. Peas pudding in the pot, 9 days old. That's karma phala. Karma phala is your own free will used in other lives, generating an effect. Actions done from your free will from past lives is what you are calling destiny now. Really speaking, it was your own free will. So we have to understand what is karma phala. Karma phala is the result of actions that have either gone along with what? What is that called? Dharma. So actions, when they go with dharma, yield comfortable situations. Comfortable situations. Being in those comfortable situations, you get happy. And then actions which diverge from dharma lead to uncomfortable situations. Being in the uncomfortable situations, you get unhappy. So karma does not make you unhappy. Karma phala does not have the ability to make you unhappy. Karma phala just can give difficult situations. Difficult situations and uncomfortable situations. To translate that into emotional distress is optional. It's because of Atma Ajnanam one translates that into another question. Why me? Why is this happening to me? How many people in the world? 8 billion now. 8 billion people asking the same question. Why me? Why me? Why me? In all their languages. Think about it. So, free will means what? You can say, now having understood this, free will, we can say everything is free will. You can say that. Because the past that I am tasting now in the form of karma phala is what? That time free will coming now. And now also there is free will, because of which I have certain choices. I have to make the right choices in order to get the right results. So I am using the free will. You can say everything is free will, or you can say everything is Ishvara. Both ways it is okay. Everything is Ishvara. Because that whatever we call, whatever that word was, destiny, predestined. So if we go back to so this view, we look at it like this. So I had free will in my last life, and in the last life I did something. How do I know that it was because of free will? Is the will really free? If so, when is it free? It is free, we say, in prayer, because we don't have to pray. No matter how dire the situation, one does not have to pray. One can plan to rob a bank. One need not pray. So even though we may laugh at the concept of Artha Bhakta, Artha Bhakta, the helpless Bhakta, so who only remembers Bhagavan when? In times of distress. Even though we say that, we may say, oh, how opportunistic that only Bhagavan is remembered at the time of distress. Still, it is better than not praying at all. So that prayer, invokes the certain ways in which one can neutralize the karma phala from past lives. That is why the reason to pray. And any astrologer will say, especially Indian astrologers, Western astrologers are very clever. So they will just say everything is going to go well and everything is wonderful and all. Indian astrologer will ask for the time of your birth and then draw up the chart and make clucking noises and look at you. Not say a word. Sit there with your chart. What? The suspense is driving you mad. What is happening? Well, Saturn. Only one word, Saturn. What about Saturn? It is sitting on top of your nakshatra, your birth star. Saturn decided to sit. Not only it is sitting, it is riding your birth star like a horse. So it is completely taken over your birth star. Oh, what to do? And then after a lot of clucking sounds, parihara, upaya will be given. Upaya means remedial measures will be given. And what is the remedy? Many remedies are there. So many remedies are there. But what is the connection to the remedy and this? One person came and told me in Rajasthan. I was there for some conference, and there was a free astrologer. And the astrologer said to this person, Saturn is sitting, that's how I got this expression. Saturn is sitting on your nakshatra. Rahu also is sitting on top of Saturn. A very bad situation. She said, what should I do? He told her, mix some curd rice and feed it to a black dog. She said, what is the connection? What is the connection between Saturn, Rahu and yogurt rice being fed to black dog? She says, don't ask questions. Just do. You want to feel better or no? Yes, yes, I want to feel better. Go do it. So she was searching for black dog the last time I saw her. So like this, sometimes sadhana and sadhya in these kinds of remedies have nothing to do with other, but somehow it works because it's all in the sankalpa. It's the intention and it's the prayer. Because that is what it is. So, the karma phala from the last life, again it is not predestined. You can do things about it right now. Because the prayer, what does it do? The prayer creates antibodies. Antibodies it creates. And what do those karmic antibodies? They attack the prarabdha that is yet to manifest. And they effectively neutralize it, or they reduce it or mitigate it to the extent that we are able to bear it. That is the beauty of it. So, doesn't matter if you have a lot of karma, doesn't matter if the life is difficult, you can work on neutralizing the previous karma by generating new karma in the form of the effects of prayer. Prayer creates punya. Why? Two reasons. You are in touch with Ishvara, and that's always a good action. And then the second reason prayer generates punya is you're not robbing a bank, you're busy praying, you're not gossiping, you're not hurting somebody else. So prayer creates punya. It's just like being inoculated. So we had vaccine for coronavirus. So there was the virus, we had the vaccine. Once is not enough, you have to take booster. Corona is still there in many countries, and then there they keep taking booster, booster, booster. So many boosters, so little time. And then it came in the news that one man had taken 271 coronavirus inoculations. And they are doing research on him now. Scientists are very intrigued and they are doing research on him. What are the effects? He doesn't seem to have any effects. He's walking, talking normally and going about I think we have to ask what was it in him before that made him take 271 injections. I know. He went in different countries. He went to different countries because there, see, in one country they will have a record. They may have a vaccine card or they may have noted it on your identification papers. But he went to another country. This way he went to many, many countries all over Europe, and in each country he got a booster. Okay. So, the prayer is like that. It's like a booster. Just like one booster is not enough, you have to keep getting it. Similarly, you have to keep praying because the sanchita karma and the prarabdha karma, the prarabdha karma is ready to just keep on giving its effects. And you don't know what lies around the corner. You don't know. And so, better to pray. When you pray, you generate new antibodies. Punya antibodies attack the papa antibodies from the last life, waiting to say boo and scare you around the corner. And that is either completely neutralized or at least mitigated. Yes? Yes, both. Both. Prasada buddhi is good to have, but prasada buddhi does not come immediately. It is cultivated. It is itself of the prasada buddhi, meaning the uh, glad acceptance, an attitude of glad acceptance of whatever comes is prasada buddhi. This is a very nice follow up question. Should I be working on glad acceptance or should I work to change the certain situations? I think both. Glad acceptance itself is a prasada. The prasada buddhi is a prasada. It comes after some living, some emotional maturity. So, as we are doing that, especially if one is a mumukshu, a jignasu, prayer is of utmost importance because you don't know what pratibandhas are lurking around. Want to come to study, but then suddenly something happens. Couldn't attend. So many people said. Wanted to come to the camp, suddenly did not come. Some operation, something happened, or nothing happened. And I told, I asked somebody, how come you're not coming to the Vedanta classes? I don't feel like it. I said, okay, what else to say? That is a emotional pratibandha, emotional block, some block. I just don't feel like it. Before you were so eager, that time I felt like it. What happened between now and then? Only Bhagavan knows, because even that person doesn't know. Only Bhagavan knows. And so, therefore, we have to be always very, very vigilant because we don't want to be away from this knowledge. That's why every Shanti mantra starts with the body and then goes to the mind. Bhadram karne vishrniyama deva. Then Bhadram pashyema akshabhihi yajatraha. Then sthirairangaihi tuštuvamsaha sastanubhihi. And then apyayantu mamangani, another Shanti mantra from the Samaveda. Vak pranas chakshushrotram balam indriyani cha sarvani. This is all because of, this is because the body is moksha yatana. It's a vehicle for moksha. If I am committed to this path, I understand that there are many things that are unplanned that can lurk around the corners and potentially sabotage my journey, including my own self-sabotage. I don't feel like it. This is a self-sabotage. So to prevent that, to neutralize all the obstacles, we use the tool of prayer. In prayer alone, the will is free. Will is totally free in prayer because it's optional. Nowhere do you have to, does it say in the Hindu Dharma that you must pray? In Christianity, Islam, there is rules. You have to pray. Here we don't have. In fact, people don't know what to do with Hindus. Really. One lady wanted to interview me. She said, do you have a holy day? I thought about it. Monday is a holy day, Shiva. Tuesday is another holy day. Wednesday is holy day. Thursday, Guru, holy day. Saturday, holy day. Shani, Hanuman, everything like this. I said, no. I said, we don't have any she asked one particular. I said, no. I can't say we have one particular. No, we don't. And then she asked one more question. Do you have a particular day that you have to go and pray? Do you have to go and pray? I said, no, we don't. Do you have a founder? I said, no, we don't. And then she was very upset. She threw her pen down. Why do you call yourself, she was American, Hindus? She said, you should call yourself Hindon'ts because everything I ask you say, no, we don't, no, we don't, no, we don't. This is how it is. So we have a very, we don't have that kind of a, uh, there are no prescriptions. That's why the will is free in prayer. Will is not bound in prayer. And in one more situation, the will is free. When you do a reaching out action, when you help somebody, the will is free. You need not help. You can just walk away. But when you stop and help somebody, it's a reaching out action. It is called seva. The will is free. When you give a donation, the will is free. Because you don't have to give a donation. In fact, you really don't feel like giving a donation. But yet, you overcome that and give. That's what makes it free. And when the actions are done with free will, then they produce results called punya, which helps one to continue on this path. You had another follow-up? Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yes. Correct. Yeah. It is a catch-22, as they say. I pray to get God's grace, and then without God's grace, I cannot pray. Yeah. But that's why we have Vriddha Vyavahara, we have something called ancestral punya, which we partake. We are not just left hanging here. We have come from parents. We have come from grandparents. They have prayed. Their grace rubs off a little bit. It's just like when you receive mantra. See, the first mantra is given by parents only. Gayatri mantra is given by the parents. So, when you receive the mantra from the Guru or the parents, they should have practiced it. You can't give a mantra that you have not practiced. In fact, you should do something before you can give the mantra to somebody. You have to have done Purascharana. What is Purascharana? Like, let us take a simple mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. How many syllables? Ayyo, this is not the, 5 syllables. Okay. So this 5 syllabic mantra, each syllable is chanted 100,000 times. So 5 syllables means what? 500,000 times. So when you do that, then you get what is called Japa Siddhi. But nobody goes Om, 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 Namaha, Namaha, Namaha. You chant the whole thing. You chant the whole mantra 500,000 times, 5 lakh times. Panchakshari, when you chant 5 lakh times, it could take 5 years, depending on how long, how many you are doing it. You may be doing 2 malas a day, 1 mala a day. It could take 10 years. But once you do that, then you get Japas Siddhi, then you are able to give it to somebody. The mantra is potentized when you receive it. When such a person who has practiced the mantra gives it to you, it has a little more, what should I say, petrol in it to take you further. Just like when you buy a car or a scooter, there is a little bit of petrol to drive it from there to back to your house. After that, you have to fill it up. But little way it will take you. Similarly, the mantra is potent enough to take you a little way, and so that is how the grace of God is, Ishvara is earned. That is how it is. So you ride on the coattails of the mantra, but then when you practice it and make it your own, it continues to bless. That is how it is. So, it's not just God's grace. For everything we need Bhagavan's grace. But 4 types of anugraha are talked about. Ishvara anugraha, and then Shastra anugraha. The Shastra has to reveal herself. Shruti has to reveal herself. There should be an interest. It has to evoke an interest in me. I should not find the Upanishads boring. It has to make sense to me. Shastra anugraha, Guru anugraha. Guru has to bless. Guru's blessing means the Guru sees that you are ready for the knowledge and the Guru is able to give freely. And that is Guru Anugraha, Guru's grace. Then all these will not work if you don't have the fourth grace. What is that? Atma Anugraha. You have to love yourself enough and be compassionate to yourself enough. Be willing to forgive yourself enough to accept these three forms of graces. So, all that works in combination. Any more questions on karma, free will? Okay. Pradosha story, please repeat. Yeah. Pradosha story centers around the churning of the ocean. It's all an allegory. One side, devas. Another side, asuras. Goodies, baddies. This is all happening in the heart. Don't think this is somewhere it's happening and we have to look. So, one side, dharma, another side, adharma, vying for supremacy. Wanting the, so this is all an allegory of the unconscious mind. Dharma and adharma conflicted here, and the one that is wanting to follow adharma is who? The rankled one, the disgruntled one, the one who feels a sense of lack, the one who feels I don't have enough. This is the one. And that is the inner child. The adult is the sura, inner child, and all other difficult to manage emotions, asuras. And everybody wants the nectar of immortality, which is what? Vedanta Shastra, because how else will you get immortality? But nobody can directly get the nectar of immortality because it seems to be very, very deep down in this antahkarana somewhere and hard to reach. And one has to go through a whole lot of useless but pretty looking objects of desires. Like 2-3 were mentioned in the morning class. What were they? Airavata, white elephant, literal white elephant. And then Uchchaishravas, horse. And then Lakshmi. And so many other things. So many things came out. The wish fulfilling, what was that? Cow. And this one, Varuni. And then this one came, the Dhanvantari. Ashwins, the first surgeons came out. And they had been studying under Dr. Dhanvantari. First doctor, healer. He finally has the Amrita. Because it's very interesting. Until all those desires for various useless but pretty looking objects, I want this, I want that. What are you going to do with a wish fulfilling cow? What a headache. Really. But this is what they want. Not only do I want the wishes to be fulfilled, I want a permanent cow there to be fulfilling it. Good nonsense. But anyhow, this is what the human imagination is. All kinds of nonsensical things suddenly people want. And then, going in hot air balloon. Why? I don't know. But this is what is done for sports. Lot of hot air in these desires. So then before this Amritam came with Dr. Dhanvantari. So this Dhanvantari symbolizes a healed unconscious mind. And when the unconscious mind is healed, then only the knowledge of immortality makes sense. That is the idea. So then before this Amritam came, Hala Hala came. So, and how did Hala Hala come? Because it was the action of churning the unconscious mind, trying to process the hurt and trying to not give up the ground to the asuras and the asuric parts. So they found poor Vasuki minding its own business and they said, you are going to be the churning rope. Poor thing. And then they tricked the Devas. They said, who is brave enough to catch the mouth of the snake? The Devas tricked the Asuras. And the foolish Asuras said, me. Okay, catch the mouth of the snake. They used on them reverse psychology. So all the Devas, to show their prowess, they went and caught hold of the mouth of the snake. And then each time the poor thing breathed out because it was wound around the mountain. One mountain they plucked. Yes, they plucked a mountain. And then that became the churning rod. And this Vasuki was so long a python that it made 2.5 rounds around this. And the Devas near the mouth, and the Asuras near the mouth, the Devas near the tail. And it would lash the tail, fadar, few Devas would fall off. And each time it breathed, the Asuras would faint. And somebody had to take a hanky and go like this and revive them. Then Hala Hala came. When the Hala Hala, the poison was so noxious, so toxic, that Vasuki himself fainted. It was that Vasuki who made all the Asuras faint, himself fainted. That toxic it was. They had to revive Vasuki. Okay, poor thing, come on. And then finally, Amritam, the nectar came. The Hala Hala was the collective unconscious. Even one unconscious is so difficult. So imagine all the people and all their feelings of being unloved and feelings of self-loath, feelings of self-judgment, feelings of fear, feelings of what happened, my sister burst my balloon literally when I was 2 years old. I want that balloon back. Frozen needs, all kinds of things. Everything came out all at once. Nobody could handle it. And then even the toxic, the most, what's the word for it, poisonous serpent itself fainted when that came out. And then so it was just like when Ganga came, nobody was able to hold her except Lord Shiva. Here too, nobody was able to process this. Meaning, the unconscious mind and its pains cannot be processed other than with the Lord's grace. That is the idea. So Shiva takes it and then Shakti holds his neck. Shakti is who? Himself alone. His own Shakti. He is she is he. There is no difference. And meaning, he was able to process it without taking it in himself and being affected by it. That is not what people do. If one person says, I'm very sad because such and such a thing happened, the other person starts to cry. Why are you crying? Because I feel so sad for you and I'm remembering my own pains. Such a person cannot console anyone. But the Lord takes it just up to the throat. And that is the birth of the Adam's apple, they say. And then this is the story. This happened in the evening when the Dwadashi comes. Dwadashi means 12th day of either the what is that called? Gibbous, waxing moon, or the, what is the other one? waning moon. 12th day on top of the 13th day when it comes, that evening is when this happened. So dosha means evening. Pradosha means special evening. And so that vela, that time is very, very auspicious to be able to worship Lord Shiva, seek his blessings to free one from the tentacles of the unconscious mind, free one from the pains and sorrows of early childhood, and clear the antahkarana of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, etc., and to free it for knowledge. So pradosha prayer becomes a very important prayer time for the mumukshu, for the jignasu, to gain the Lord's grace, to neutralize all these pains and sorrows. That is the Pradosha story. That is the significance. What else is there? What is Gita? Gita is a moksha shastra, Bhagavad Gita. It occurs in the Mahabharata, and then it is in the form of a holy dialogue between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. Arjuna, hopeless, hapless jiva, jaded, faded jiva, completely not seeing why I should fight this war. He was not a pacifist. Don't think he wanted just peace in the world peace. No. He would have fought against anybody, no problem. He just did not want to fight against his cousins. He was in a dysfunctional relationship because he and his brothers, I think, had been bullied. They were completely outnumbered. They were 5, and how many were the cousins? 101. Don't forget Dushala. Yes, 101. And Dhritarashtra, blinded by the moha, by the delusion of his love for his children, but literally blind. And then Gandhari, lady from Afghanistan, Kandahar, that is Gandhara Pradesha. Gandhari gets married to him. Stupid lady, really. She should have said, let me be the eyes. You don't have eyes. And what does she do? Ties one patti and sits down whole life. What a waste of life. What a waste of a pair of eyes. Not only that, okay, all right. Sit quietly in one place, both of you cannot see now. Then such people should not have children. Children need eye contact. They proceed to have not one but 101 children. The child needs eye contact of the mother and the father. The child wants to feel great. This is how there is a healthy unconscious that builds up. It may do some stupid thing like jump from a table. And you have to say as the parent, oh, did you do that by yourself? Wow, great. Then it proceeds to do that 25 more times. Yeah, great. Yeah, very nice. Then you check yourself into a hotel like those grandparents. But this is what you have to do as a mother, as a father. You have to engage with the child for it to be healthy. But here, these people had just, one could not see, one refused to see, and the children grew up like wild seeds, not feeling totally unloved. They had everything. They had the palace, they had the palatial grounds, they had food, they had the best of teachers, Drona and all the other teachers. They were taught in archery. Whatever the Pandavas got, these people also got. Still they had this sense of lack, insecurity, that made them nearly sociopathic, narcissistic, all kinds of things. I mean, if you look at modern psychology and look at their, look at each and every one as an archetype, we see this. Then, even though these people had tried to kill the Pandavas so many times, the Pandavas were in a codependent relationship with them. My people, our people, how to kill our people. And he says that in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says that, if we are killed, it's better if we are killed. He starts to cry. Nakangshe Vijayam Krishna Rajyam Bhoga Sukhani Cha. He cries. Kinno Rajyena Govinda Kim Bhogaihi Jivitena Va. Need not even translate. I don't want, he's very logical. Even in his hopelessness, he's very logical. Nakangshe Vijayam. I don't want victory. Why do you want victory? For the sake of the kingdom. Na Rajyam. I don't want kingdom. Why do you want kingdom? For the sake of happiness. Na Sukhani Cha. Kinno Rajyena Govinda. What will I do with the kingdom? Kim Bhogaihi. What will I do with all this Sukha, happiness? Why should I even live? He's feeling near suicidal. And there were two ways to deal with this. This kind of a drastic hopelessness, a drastic fear, insecurity, and deep conflict about this war which were needed to be fought. Not because he needed to overpower his cousins. No, it needed to be fought because the cousins who had usurped the kingdom, they were tyrannizing the entire population. It was a dharma yuddha. Needed to be fought. And it was not an option for Arjuna to run away. That is adharma. Kshatriya dharma is not to run away. Even now, if you are in the military, if you run away, you will be court-martialed. It's a crime. You can't run away whenever you feel like it. You have to wait for honorable discharge. Arjuna, being clever, said, "Ooh, there is an honorable discharge possible in the Hindu dharma." What is that? Sannyasa. Sannyasa. I think I look good in dark orange, he thought to himself. And from Kurukshetra to Haridwar, by walk you can go. It will take 2 days, you reach. Sit under a tree, grow a beard because he didn't want anybody to recognize him. Grow a long beard, become a dadi-wala Baba, and then what? People will just give bhiksha, eat, sit. Moolam taroho kevalam ashrayantah. You can panidvaye bhoktum amantrayantah. So he could do that. He saw that, yeah, sannyasa is my ticket out of this war. That kind of a desire for renunciation coming out of a deep hopelessness is not a desire for renunciation. It is called Shmashana Vairagya, funeral ground Vairagya. In the face of great loss or in the face of some perceived or real impending doom, one feels like giving everything up. Krishna recognized that and said, and put a big, put a pin in his balloon of a wonderful imagination of himself as a sannyasi. He says, you think you can go and sit under a tree in Rishikesh? All you need is some pilgrims to come who recognize you. Don't think just because you're hiding behind orange clothes and a beard, they won't recognize you. Avachya vadamscha bahun. Vadanti tava ahitaha. Nindantas-tava samarthyam. Tatonna dukkha-tarannu kim. There's nothing worse than people telling you horrible things about yourself, which he says, which Lord Krishna says as Bhagavan, I can't even repeat. Sanskrit 4-letter words will be hurled at you. Avachya, I can't say them, but people will say them. And there is nothing worse than that. You have nothing to lose. You have no option other than to lead the life that you are leading. You have to deal with it. This is why we are so fond of Gita, because we don't know how to deal with life. We would like to run away. We would like, it's easier, it seems easier, because after all the trouble is them. And if I'm not with them, A, B, C, D and E, I'll be fine. But wherever you go, there you are. If it is not one thing, it's another that will bother. You carry yourself with you, you carry the source of botheration, which is not other people, which is not the job, which is not the parents, which is not the spouse, which is not the children, which is not the friends. The source of botheration is the inner child or inner brats, whatever you want to call them, that need to be tamed, that need to be processed, those hurts need to be loved up. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is about dealing not just with the world, but with yourself. That is why it is so important. And like Swamiji said beautifully on the first day, he said, Nachiketa, who can relate to? He's too smart for his age. And we say, oh, we can't be like him. At 8 years old, you can't even remember what you were doing. But here he is asking Anyatra Dharmad, Anyatra Adharmad, he is asking lofty questions. And we can't even relate so much to Shvetaketu, nor even to Maitreyi, or Gargi, or Jabala. We can't relate to any of them. They are too much above us. But Arjuna, yes, we can recognize. We can recognize the desire to run away. We can recognize the desire to not want to confront anybody or anything. We can recognize the desire to be free of this pain and this sorrow. Arjuna is relatable, and each time Arjuna asks a question in the Bhagavad Gita, we get very happy because we had the same question at the same time. And so that is the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. Must be studied, must really be studied. There is one praise song of the Bhagavad Gita. Gita Sugita Kartavya. The Gita must be studied very, very well. Kimanyaihi Shastra Vistaraihi. Of what use are these big Shastras? Gita itself is enough to praise the Gita. That is what is said. Information on deity Lingodbhava. That tomorrow I will tell. Then two others are here. We find that those with corrupt actions spend a lot of time honoring and doing rituals. Why only with corrupt actions? Even people with good actions are doing rituals. How does this add up? Particularly with respect to Ishvara's grace. That's easy, because today we saw that beautiful verse from the 9th chapter. Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam. Yo me prayachati, it doesn't say. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. That is important. I can also do many rituals. But if the bhakti is not there, then how will it translate into punya? Very difficult. The bhakti is what makes something into a prayer, not rote actions or not any perfunctory actions because somebody said I have to do this. So it's not necessarily that only corrupt people are engaged in rituals. Even dharmic people do rituals. And so that may be a perception that corrupt people do rituals. So many times what happens, the people who are engaged in corrupt actions, they don't do, they are not attracted to puja. They are not attracted to temples. They are not attracted to ashrams. They will be miles away because there is no match. It's not a conducive atmosphere for them to be in. They get restless, worried and scared. And if there are people who are still doing puja, even though they are doing corrupt actions, we should allow them to do the puja, at least because of that some recourse is there. Some punya will come, some papa will go. But it's not the actions, it's the bhakti. It's the devotion. It has to be made real. The relationship has to be real. In addition to Swadhyaya, what sadhanas are required for knowing Brahman? Shravanam. Yeah. First Shravanam. Last Shravanam. In the middle? Because Swadhyaya, I don't know what you mean. If you mean Shravanam, then I am in agreement with you. If you mean any other kind of self-study, we have to be a little careful. Because who is the one studying? Is it the one who knows or the one who doesn't know? Doesn't know. So if the one who doesn't know is doing self-study, then one's own infrastructure can come in the way of understanding. This is what happens often. Tattvamasi, next. Aham Brahmasmi, next. There is no awe because you don't believe it. There is distrust in the heart. Shraddha may be compromised. There may be hopelessness. There may be fear. There may be insecurity. There is self-loath. I can't be Brahman. It must be the neighbor. It must be somebody else. It will not speak to me. That's why Adi Shankara cautions in the Bhashya. Shastrajñopi swatantriyena brahmanveshanam na kuryat. Even if you are a Shastrajña, Shastrajña doesn't mean Brahmajnani, the one who knows Sanskrit, Shastras, who has studied well. Brahmanveshanam, enquiry into Brahman, vichara into Brahman, na kuryat, swatantriyena, by yourself, please don't do this, because you will not get anything. Shravanam means, we talked about this in the morning in the Maya Panchakam class. You are a receiver. When you hear, the ajnanam gets tired and leaves. It says, this is so boring, I am leaving. You hear. The ahankara gets soft. And instead of trying to show off, it sits and listens. That is what we want. Then the knowledge, it's already there. It is you. There was a question yesterday which I overlooked. What was that? Ekashloki. Who asked that question? You did. Tomorrow I will do the Lingodbhava and Ekashloki. Tomorrow we'll do. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Let these also bite the